Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. If this is your first time here, please be kind enough to hit that subscribe button so that you'll be informed of any new uploads on my channel. So recently I shared a video sharing my unsuccessful attempt in making a bonnet with a facing. So if you haven't watched that video, please be sure to click the link down in the description box below. And today I'll be showing you exactly how you can get a good facing for your bonnet. Let's get right into it. As always, I'm going to be starting off with my supplies. So here I have my satin fabric. I have a second piece of fabric which is not exactly an African print, but you can use an African print as well. I would need an elastic, my tape, and also a box of pins. I'm also going to need a scissors for this project, as well as chalk or a pencil. Now that I have my supplies ready, I'm going ahead to fold my print twice to obtain a right angle, and I'm just measuring to double check if the length of my fold is the same as the required diameter, which should be anywhere between 10 and 15 inches depending on the size of bonnet that you want. In my case, I am going with 12 inches. With a fixed point at the right angle of our piece, move the other end of the tape around to create a semicircle measuring 12 inches as you go. Also, use your chalk or pencil to trace. After tracing, connect the dots to form a complete curve. Go in with your scissors and cut directly on the line. On folding this piece, we should be able to obtain a complete circle. Next, I'm repeating the same process that I did earlier. The only difference here is our measurement. So instead of measuring 12 inches that I measured earlier, this time I am doing 10. And the reason is because the 2 inches are going to eventually make up for our facing. I'll show you that in a minute. A quick tip here is when working with slippery fabric, please be sure to use pins to hold it down in place. And also, when you're using chalk or pencil on your fabric, do it on the wrong side. In this case, I'm not sure what I was thinking about, but my fabric is actually on the right side. Now, placing the small piece on the larger one, I'm just double checking again to make sure that I'm actually missing only 2 inches. Grab your print again, fold it twice, and then fold the smaller piece, the satin fabric we had cut out previously, fold it in the same way. You're just going to pin these two together to make sure that you can measure out the 2-inch difference that was missing earlier. In order to obtain a perfect facing, we are going to start measuring again at the right angle to create a semicircle like we did earlier. But this time, we are not just measuring the 2 inches that was missing, we are going to add an extra inch for allowance. After tracing the line, we are going to cut out twice instead of cutting once like we did before. So cut directly on the line and directly below the satin fabric. After cutting out your facing, you'll find that you have 3 circular pieces, 2 of them 10 inches in diameter and the other one is 12 inches in diameter, and we only need 2 pieces. So don't worry about it. This piece, you can actually use it for a second bonnet. Since the 2 pieces needed for our bonnet are supposed to be the same size, I'm just placing the facing over it to be sure that they are all the same. Next, pin the facing onto the satin fabric. Be sure that you have right sides facing each other and pin it all around. When pinning, you could find that your satin fabric is somewhat smaller than your facing. It's okay to create an opening on the facing. I'll show you that as we go along. Now that I finished pinning my fabric, I put the 2 pieces together to be sure that they are actually the same size. Now this is what I was referring to. My facing was somewhat larger than the satin piece, and I just went ahead to split that up. You can go ahead and cut off the extra piece so it's easier to put the 2 edges together. Now after sewing, you should obtain something like this. As you can see, it's very neat. And next, I'm just going in with my scissors to give it a good snip all around the sewing allowance. Be careful here not to touch the stitch you just made. And if you're wondering what snipping or notching does to your garment or your project, it just helps it to lay flat, especially when you're ironing, and gives your project an overall good appearance. After snipping, I went ahead to give that piece a good press, and now I have my two pieces together. Be sure to put them right sides facing each other. Now I'm going ahead to pin the pieces all around. Try as much as possible to do this on a flat surface or while your pieces are lying on a flat surface to prevent any bulging or sagging of the fabric. I'm going ahead to sew all around the fabric, but I'll be sure to leave an opening 2 to 3 inches wide. This will help me to flip the sides and also to fit in our elastic band. I'm going ahead to give it a good snip to be sure that the piece looks great after ironing. Now that snipping is done, I'm going ahead to flip the sides, and I'm going to be giving it a really good press after this. The next thing I'm doing is to grab my elastic band. Go ahead and measure the width of your elastic band so you can be sure of how much space you're going to create for it. If you've watched my previous video, you saw that instead of doing this, I just went ahead to create a space for the band by sewing directly on the hem of my facing. In this case, the width of my elastic band is 1 inch, and so I'll be measuring 1 1/4 inches to allow wiggle room for my elastic. Now this step is completely optional. You can decide to top sew around the edges of your fabric as I'm doing. I'm only sewing about less than 1/4 inch all around the piece. Now measure 1 1/4 inches all around the piece to create a space for your elastic. You can decide to trace this all around, or you can mark just once and then you measure as you go like I did. Also note that this time around we are not leaving any opening like we did earlier. We are sewing a complete circle. Hook the elastic band onto a large safety pin. Go ahead and put this all around your piece through the opening that we left to create for yourself a bonnet. Please note that the length of your elastic is the circumference of your head. In my case, I have 22 inches. Now to finish up, place one end of the elastic over the other. Go ahead and do 2 lines of the zigzag stitch on your machine. Go ahead and fit that in, tuck the edges of the opening that we have, and top sew to complete your bonnet. And voila! Here we have our bonnet. It's completely reversible. It is beautiful and it fits perfectly. So that is the facing that I created. and I think I really like the outcome of it. Please let me know what you think in the comment section below. To add variety to my bonnet, I decided to create a wrap for it, and this is a wrap with a twist. As you can see in the video, I have 2 pieces of fabric, and this is just because I want to add more variety. Therefore, my wrap will have the satin fabric on one side and the print on the other side. But if you feel comfortable with having just one, please go ahead and use one piece. My measurements here are 6 inches in width and 77 inches long. 77 because this is what I felt comfortable with, but an ideal measurement will be anywhere between 75 and 100. This will really just depend on how long you want your wrap to be. After cutting out the pieces, go ahead and stitch them together right sides facing each other. Be sure to leave an opening along the length between 3 to 4 inches. I'm going ahead to notch the edges so when I flip the sides, they are going to tuck out real good. Tuck the fabric around the opening and top sew like we have been doing before. And after this, go ahead and give it a very good press. Now that we have our bonnet and our wrap nice and complete, you can decide to use them as separate pieces, or you can decide to attach the wrap onto the bonnet. Personally, I think if you leave the pieces separately, you can get more out of it, which is why I'm gonna leave mine separate. And that's it, guys. If you do want to see how I tie my head wraps, please let me know down below in the comment section. And I do hope you enjoyed this video. Please give it a thumbs up and like and share with your friends as well. Until next time, bye.